Meta now facing some big questions as the company plans to move ahead without its superstar COO Sheryl Sandberg. But her departure begs an even bigger question about women in the tech industry and more than a decade of progress in Silicon Valley. Yahoo Finance's Dan Howley here with where we go from there. And was there much progress after Sheryl Sandberg came aboard?
It's interesting, right? Because Sheryl Sandberg was obviously, or is obviously known as for her Lean In book and her foundation, pushing that women kind of making their own space in corporate America. She obviously did that very well herself at both Meta and Google, Alphabet, however you want to refer to it. But it is, it does beg the question, what impact did she have on the broader industries that we see, especially with Silicon Valley and female executives? And, really it doesn't feel as though we have seen that much growth since she came on in 2008. We actually have a graphic showing the various CEOs and CFOs, SVPs. You obviously have there Ruth Porat. She's the CFO at Google, Alphabet. Lisa Su doing an incredible job over at AMD. Amy Hood, the CFO on Microsoft. If you listen to any of the earnings calls for those companies, you'll hear them constantly. So, obviously these are big names in big, heavy-hitting positions at some of the largest companies in Silicon Valley. But the fact that you can talk about that number of women in those roles, it just doesn't feel as though they're clearly not as equally represented as men in these roles. You can look up any of their executive members pages and the men are going to outnumber the women easily each time. So, as much as she did change the perception, I think, of Silicon Valley, she still is one of the few executives that actually was female at that point.
Yeah, and it's so critical here just in terms of building the pipeline of female talent. So you have one or two people at the head or in the C-suite, but you still need people at the lower management positions or even analyst positions of entry-level positions. Yeah. Has there been one company or a group of companies that have been the leader on the forefront of this, just in terms of either various programs that they have established at their company or different measures that they are using just in order to keep up and try to improve that statistic?
I think a lot of them say that they want to do that. And whenever there's a big hire in those positions, they will point it out. But I don't necessarily think that any one company is doing an incredible job versus others. We do, obviously, we point out the numbers that we have or the main players that we have from the big tech companies right now. But it just doesn't feel as though one company is doing an outstanding job compared to the rest of the pack. It still feels very much kind of piecemeal at this point.